Love in the stars, humanity's smallest force, greatest emotion. The stars hung silent in the black sky, far from the planets that teemed with life. Captain Eli leaned against the viewport of the observation deck, his eyes tracing the faint glimmer of distant systems. Humans were small in the galactic scheme, barely noticed by the larger, stronger species. Most aliens measured strength by size, technology, or the power to destroy. Humans measured it differently. They measured it by what they could protect and the connections they would not abandon. Eli adjusted the controls, listening to the soft hum of the ship. It was a routine patrol mission, assigned to observe distant colonies for the Galactic Council. Yet the routine felt wrong. There was a faint signal coming from the edge of mapped space, irregular and weak. The signal carried a distress call from a human colony that had not reported in weeks. Council sensors had flagged it but dismissed it as a minor technical glitch. To most species, it was not worth investigating. To humans, it was a call that could not be ignored. The ship's engineer, Mara, entered the room carrying a tablet. "Captain, the signal is unstable. We can follow it, but it will be dangerous. Some of the routes haven't been mapped in decades. Gravitational anomalies and debris fields could tear us apart." She looked at him with concern. Her dark hair was pulled back, and her hands fidgeted with the device. She was always calm in crisis, but her worry was clear. "I know," Eli said softly. "But if we do not go, people could die. We cannot leave them alone." His voice carried no hesitation, only determination. Mara sighed and nodded. "I will prepare the ship. We may not have time to consult the council first." Eli glanced at the view. The void was endless, but there was life beyond it. Humans had always clung to the fragile threads of hope, even when it seemed hopeless. That hope was what drove them beyond the borders of known space, against odds that would have terrified even the bravest alien warriors. The council expected humans to fail. They were small, fragile, and too emotional to survive. But that was the exact reason Eli believed they could succeed where others would not. The ship's engines roared to life, quiet in the vastness of space, but powerful enough to bend the trajectory of the vessel. Mara and the rest of the small crew worked quickly, checking systems and plotting a course through uncharted sectors. They were humans, yes, and small, but they were clever and resilient. They would rely on instinct, collaboration, and an unwavering sense of responsibility to guide them. As the ship left the safety of known routes, the distress signal grew stronger, but also more erratic. It was not just a call for help. It seemed almost alive, as if it knew someone was coming. Eli studied the waveform, and a chill ran down his spine. This was no ordinary technical error. Something, or someone, was trying to reach them. "Look at this," said Tom, the medic, pointing to the signal on the screen. "The pattern is changing. It's almost like it's responding to us." Eli's brow furrowed. "Responding how?" "I don't know exactly," Tom admitted.
"It's almost as if it knows we are approaching."
Mara frowned.
"That is impossible."
"Signals don't think." Ellie shook his head. "We will find out soon enough. Keep monitoring, but prepare for anything." Hours passed, and the crew felt the weight of isolation. Space had a way of making the mind focus on the small things. The hum of machinery, the blink of lights, the steady breathing of companions. Humans had learned long ago to rely on each other, to trust instincts and bonds over raw power. Mara double-checked life support systems while Tom reviewed medical logs and ration stores. The rest of the crew maintained the ship, but everyone felt the same tension. Something awaited them at the edge of known space. Finally, the ship reached the source of the signal. The viewports revealed a scene of quiet devastation. A colony ship, half its hull torn away, floated among debris. The human structures aboard the ship were damaged, lights flickering in the darkness. No one responded to repeated hails. The council would have turned back immediately, deeming it too risky. But Eli's crew did not flinch.
"Prepare the rescue pods," Eli ordered. "We go in, we find survivors, and we get them out."
No one is left behind. Mara hesitated for a moment. Captain, there are unknown objects near the colony. Something is out there. We don't know what it is. Eli looked out the viewport. Dark shapes moved among the debris, not attacking, just watching. The shapes were unlike anything humans had seen. Alien species that relied on size and weaponry might have turned back. Humans would not. Humans had a strange courage. The courage to face the unknown, to protect others.
Then we will watch and move carefully, Eli said. We are not alone, but neither are they. The crew deployed rescue drones first, observing the movements of the dark shapes.
Mara guided the drones through collapsed corridors, stabilizing failing systems as the shapes circled. The unknown force did not interfere, yet it caused an unsettling awareness among the crew. It was as if it was studying them, judging them. Human hearts beat faster, not from fear, but from concern for those trapped inside. Eli led a small team in a boarding pod. The ship's airlock was damaged, but they forced it open. Inside, the corridors were dark and twisted. The power flickered, creating shadows that danced along the walls. The faint sound of breathing reached them from the distance. Humans in the colony were alive, frightened, but holding together. Families had huddled in sections of the ship that had remained intact, using whatever they could find to survive.
"Keep calm!" Eli called as they moved forward.
"We are here to help. You are safe now." Survivors emerged slowly, eyes wide with disbelief. The first was a small child who ran to Mara, holding a broken toy. Mara knelt, smiling gently, and took the child's hand. Then came parents, older adults, everyone battered but alive. Tom checked injuries quickly, distributing med kits and giving immediate care where needed. The crew moved efficiently, but always with patience, always with care. The unknown shapes hovered outside the windows, watching. They did not attack. They seemed confused, unsettled by what they observed. The humans' cooperation, their willingness to risk themselves for others, defied the logic that the shapes had known. Eli sensed it. This was the beginning of something greater, the recognition that humans were unpredictable and strong in ways the galaxy did not understand. The evacuation was tense. Debris shifted, alarms rang, and the ship creaked under strain. Mara worked furiously to stabilize power systems as Eli coordinated the movement of rescue pods. Every decision mattered. A single mistake could be fatal. And yet, despite the danger, humans never hesitated to help each other. A man carried an elderly woman down the corridor. 2 children clung to Tom as he guided them through a collapsing section. A family of 3 climbed together, supporting each other as if the weight of the entire universe rested on their shoulders. Outside, the unknown shapes continued to observe. Eli realized that whatever force this was, it had never seen humans act like this. Love, care, and sacrifice were forces it could not measure. Logic and power could not predict the choices humans made. In every difficult moment, humans found strength not in their size or weapons, but in their bonds with each other. Finally, the last survivor was aboard the rescue pods. Eli breathed a quiet sigh of relief. They had succeeded where so many would have turned back. Mara and Tom were exhausted but smiling, their relief mingled with pride. The unknown shapes retreated into the darkness, perhaps reconsidering the species they had underestimated. As the ship left the damaged colony behind, Ellie looked out at the stars again. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and mystery. Humans were small, yes. Fragile, yes. But they carried something larger than technology or strength. They carried hope, connection, and love. That was what would allow them to survive, even in the coldest, most unforgiving reaches of space. Eli turned to his crew. "We did what needed to be done, not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because it was right. Remember this, humans are not defined by how big we are, but by how much we care." Mara nodded. "And sometimes that is enough to change the outcome." Tom smiled. "It has to be enough. It always is." The stars passed by as the ship moved forward. The galaxy remained indifferent, vast, and silent. Yet somewhere out there, other species had begun to notice. Humans were more than they appeared. They were small but unstoppable when it came to protecting those they loved. And as the crew settled in for the long journey back to the council, Eli knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had not yet seen the full force of humanity's smallest, greatest power. Somewhere in the void, the distress signal faded, leaving only the memory of survival and the echo of hope. Eli gazed at the dark expanse, and a small smile touched his lips. The universe could underestimate humans all it wanted. It would not matter. Love, after all, had a way of finding its own path, and no force, no matter how vast, could contain it. The ship moved silently, carrying humans who were small in size, yet immense in courage, into the unknown. And in the quiet, Eli knew that every connection they had saved today would ripple across the stars, leaving a mark no alien logic could ignore. Humanity's journey had only begun, and it would be defined not by fear, but by the smallest force and greatest emotion the galaxy had ever known. The repaired colony ships floated slowly toward the safety of known space, guided by Eli and his crew. Even with the survivors safe, the tension in the air remained. Something had watched them at the edge of mapped space, and the memory of those dark shapes lingered in the minds of the humans aboard. Every small shadow on the ship's walls made them pause. Every unexpected creak of the metal brought their hearts closer to their throats. Mara worked to reinforce systems, her hands steady but her eyes scanning constantly. She knew that in space, even a small mistake could become fatal in seconds. Tom moved quietly among the survivors, checking for injuries that might have been missed in the hurried rescue. His calm presence reassured families who had just witnessed their homes torn apart. Children clung to him as if he were a rock in a storm. Parents whispered thanks, yet all were aware of the danger that still lurked beyond the ship's shields. The unknown watchers had not attacked, but their presence had been intentional. Eli could feel it. Something was testing them.
Captain,
Mara said, her voice low as she approached him on the bridge, "We are receiving a transmission. It is from the Council. They know you rescued the colony. They want an immediate report." Eli nodded, staring at the screen. "Put them through. Let them hear exactly what happened." The Council's representative appeared, their appearance calm and controlled. Their skin was pale, almost bluish, and their eyes reflected the logic of their species. "Captain Eli," the representative began, "we acknowledge your actions. However, your decision to investigate without authorization was reckless. You put human lives at risk and interfered with protocols designed to prevent such hazards. Explain why you did it." Eli met their gaze steadily. "Because human lives were at stake. We cannot ignore a call for help just because others see it as inconvenient. Our choices are not guided by efficiency alone. We act to protect each other, no matter the risk." There was a long pause on the screen. Then the representative said, "Your species is unpredictable, and that is precisely the problem. We will need to evaluate whether such behavior is sustainable."
Eli clenched his jaw.
"Sustainable? Our way of life has kept us alive on Earth and across the stars. Our survival depends on our connections, not our size or weapons. That is what makes us strong." The representative did not answer directly. Instead, the transmission ended. Eli turned to Mara and Tom. "They do not understand. They may never understand, but that is their limitation, not ours." The ship continued its journey through uncharted sectors. The survivors were exhausted, yet the small human community on board began to form bonds. People shared stories, helped each other adjust to life in the temporary ship, and learned to trust the crew who had risked everything for them. Human resilience was remarkable. Even when frightened, they clung to hope, and in that hope they found strength. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up movement near the colony ships. Mara froze. "Captain, there are objects approaching. Not fast, but they are large." Eli rose to the observation deck. Outside, enormous silhouettes drifted in the distance, their forms strange and shifting. They did not attack but moved with precision, as if studying every maneuver the humans made. Eli felt the same chill from before. These shapes were not random debris. They were alive, observing, calculating, and perhaps learning. Tom joined him. "They know we are here. They have been watching all along." Eli nodded. "Yes. And they are trying to understand something they cannot measure." For the next several hours, the humans monitored the approaching entities. Each attempt to communicate failed. The unknown force did not speak in any language humans had ever encountered. Yet something about their behavior was deliberate. They were testing the humans' reactions, watching for hesitation, fear, or disunity. Humans, however, acted in a way that no other species had before, together, without panic, without abandoning anyone. Mara suggested a risky move. "If we split the rescue ships and move through different paths, we can reach safety faster, but it could provoke them." Eli considered the risk. "We cannot leave anyone behind. We move together. No one is separated." The crew executed the plan, coordinating every move with precision. Humans assisted each other in ways that were both practical and emotional. Parents guided children, crew members helped injured survivors, and even the youngest children were encouraged to help in small tasks. The unknown watchers shifted their positions, confused by the humans' unpredictable strategy. Each act of care seemed to multiply human effectiveness. Where logic said they should be slower, they moved faster. Where fear might have paralyzed them, they acted decisively. As night fell in the human perception of time, the shapes drew closer. One of them hovered just outside the viewport of the main ship. Its dark form reflected light strangely, twisting like liquid shadow. Eli stared at it, and for the first time he felt a connection, not fear, but a recognition that the entity was aware of their choices. It was learning, observing, and perhaps even questioning. Mara whispered, "Captain, I think they are trying to understand what makes us human." Eli nodded slowly. "Then let them watch. They will see that our strength is not in size, or weapons, or speed. It is in how we care for each other." Hours turned into a tense night as the humans navigated through the sector. Small malfunctions arose. A power conduit sparked. A corridor bulkhead rattled. Life support reported low reserves in a section. Mara and her team worked tirelessly fixing problems while comforting survivors. Tom moved through the group, tending minor injuries and offering reassuring words. Eli coordinated the navigation, ensuring no one was left exposed. Every action mattered. Every choice reflected the bonds that humans carried with them. Suddenly, a signal from the unknown shapes appeared. It was a series of pulses, structured but incomprehensible. The crew studied it and realized it mirrored certain patterns of human emotion. Heartbeat rhythms, vocal frequencies, and even subtle stress indicators seemed to be reflected in the pulses. The unknown watchers were not attacking. They were observing the very essence of human connection. Eli realized something profound. These beings, advanced and logical as they might be, had never encountered a species that gained strength from care and love. Every choice humans made to protect each other amplified their ability to survive. The beings outside could measure weapons, ships, and technology, but they could not measure the invisible threads that connected humans. Mara approached him. "Do you think they will attack?" Eli shook his head. "No, I think they are confused. We have done something no one else could. We have shown them that humans are stronger than they appear because of something they cannot understand." The crew worked through the night, repairing, comforting, and navigating. Every small act of care, every reassurance and encouragement became part of a pattern that amplified human efficiency. By morning, the human convoy had reached a safer zone, within range of mapped routes. The unknown shapes lingered, watching from the distance, perhaps reconsidering the species they had underestimated. The survivors gathered in the common area, exhausted but alive. They shared meals, whispered stories, and looked at the crew with admiration. Eli walked among them, observing the small gestures of trust and gratitude. These moments, simple as they were, held the real power of humanity. Survival was not just about strength, it was about the willingness to act for others, even when danger loomed. Later, Eli returned to the bridge, staring at the stars stretching endlessly ahead. The unknown watchers had not followed them into mapped space. Perhaps they were studying, perhaps they were learning. Either way, humanity had made an impression. Small, fragile, emotional, unpredictable humans had survived where the strongest logic had predicted failure. Mara joined him again.
Captain, do you think they will come back?
Eli looked out into the void. Perhaps. But that is not our concern. Our concern is each other. As long as we hold to that, no force can break us. Tom appeared beside them, smiling gently.
We have shown them the smallest force and the greatest emotion.
And sometimes that is enough. The human convoy continued its journey toward safety, each lighted corridor and humming engine a testament to resilience. Across the stars, other species might have dismissed them as weak, emotional, and insignificant. Yet in their very weakness lay their power, the courage to act for others, the determination to survive, and the ability to turn care into strength. Eli stood quietly, watching the distant lights of inhabited systems grow closer. Somewhere beyond the next bend of space, the unknown watchers would consider what they had learned. Humans were small, yes, and fragile, but they carried something the galaxy could not measure. Something invisible yet unbreakable. And that force born of connection and love would guide them through the dangers to come, shaping the destiny of humanity among the stars. The journey back toward known space should have felt like relief, but unease stayed with the crew. Even though the strange watchers had fallen behind, their presence remained heavy in everyone's thoughts. Eli noticed it in the quiet pauses, in the way Mara checked the sensors more often than necessary, and in how Tom lingered with the survivors longer than before. Something had changed. The humans had been seen, studied, and judged by something far beyond the Council. As the convoy moved deeper into safer routes, new signals began to appear on the scanners. They were not attacks, not distress calls, but soft echoes that followed the ships like distant whispers. Mara worked late into the cycle, trying to trace them. The signals did not match any known technology. They seemed to shift whenever humans spoke, laughed, or showed fear.
These signals are reacting to us, Mara said, her voice tired but focused. Not just our ships.
Us. Eli stood behind her, hands clasped. Then they are still watching. Yes, she replied. But now it feels different. Not like hunters, more like students. That idea unsettled Ally more than open hostility would have. A force that studied humans so closely could one day decide they were dangerous. Or worse, useful. When the convoy finally reached a council-controlled station, the reaction was cold and tense. Armed escorts surrounded the ships immediately. Council officials demanded that all humans remain aboard while investigations were conducted. The survivors who had just escaped death were now treated as possible threats. Eli addressed the crew calmly. Stay together. Be patient. Fear often comes from what is not understood.
The council summoned Eli alone.
The chamber was wide and smooth, designed for beings much larger than humans. Representatives from several species watched him from elevated platforms. Their eyes were sharp, curious, and wary. "You have drawn attention," one representative said. "But only from us, but from forces beyond our borders. Your actions have disrupted long-standing balances." Eli lifted his chin. "We saved our people. If that disrupts balance, then the balance was flawed." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Another representative leaned forward. "Our sensors recorded unusual patterns during your rescue. Human neural activity spiked in ways we have never observed. Coordination improved under emotional stress."
Explain this.
Eli did not hesitate. "Humans work best when we care. Fear can break us, but love binds us together. That bond makes us stronger." Silence followed. Some representatives exchanged glances, while others seemed disturbed. "Emotion is unstable," one said. "It leads to irrational decisions."
Eli replied evenly. "So does logic without compassion." The council ended the session without resolution.
Eli was dismissed, but not cleared. Outside the chamber, he felt the weight of what was coming. Humanity had crossed a line simply by being what it was. Back aboard the ship, tension rose as reports came in from other human systems. Ships that had never encountered the unknown watchers were now seeing similar signals. Not attacks, but scans. Observations. Humanity was no longer isolated. Tom joined Eli in the medical bay, where several survivors rested.
They are scared, Tom said quietly.
The Council. They see something they cannot control. Eli nodded. And fear makes people dangerous. Days passed. The Council delayed decisions, but the Watchers did not. One cycle, the signals intensified. A projection formed in open space near the station. Not a weapon, not a ship, but a shape made of light and shadow. It did not speak, yet everyone felt its attention settle on the human vessels. Alarms sounded across the station. Defensive systems activated, weapons locking on the projection. Eli watched from the bridge as commanders prepared to fire.
"Do not shoot," Eli said firmly. "Wait. They could destroy us," Mara warned.
"They have not," Eli replied, "not once." The projection shifted. Images flooded human screens. Not threats, but memories. Scenes from the rescue. Humans carrying each other. A child holding Mara's hand. Tom treating the injured. Eli standing firm against the void. The Watchers had recorded it all. A pulse followed, stronger than before. Several alien systems failed instantly, overwhelmed by the signal. Human systems strained but held. Mara stared in shock. "It is using our own emotional patterns as a form of communication," Tom whispered. "It is trying to understand us." The Council panicked. Orders to attack were given. Before weapons could fire, the projection changed again. This time it showed something new. Images of countless worlds, species long gone, civilizations erased. All cold, all efficient, all alone. Eli felt it then. Not fear, but sorrow. These beings were not monsters. They were survivors of a universe that had taught them connection was weakness.
They have never known love, Eli said softly. The projection pulsed one final time.
A message formed, not in words, but in meaning. Humans were different. Humans were dangerous, not because of weapons, but because they could inspire others to feel. The Watchers withdrew, but the damage was done. The Council could not deny what they had seen. Humanity had revealed a force that logic could not contain. Emergency sessions followed. Some Council members argued that humans should be controlled, isolated, or removed. Others, shaken by what they had felt during the projection, hesitated. Empathy had taken root. Eli addressed the final session. "You fear us because we are emotional. But that emotion is what allows us to stand together, to protect life, not consume it. If you choose to treat us as a threat, you may survive longer. If you choose to understand us, we may survive together." The decision was postponed. Humanity was allowed to return to its systems under watch. Not trusted, but not condemned. As the ship departed the station, Eli stood once more at the viewport. The stars felt closer now, more aware. Humanity had been measured and found unpredictable. Mara joined him. "Do you think we have started something we cannot stop?" Eli smiled faintly. "Love always does." Tom laughed softly. "Then maybe the galaxy needs it." The ship moved forward, carrying humans who were no longer unseen. Somewhere in the darkness the Watchers waited, and the Council watched in fear and curiosity. Humanity's smallest force had been revealed, and the universe would never be the same again. The return to human space did not bring peace. News of the encounter spread fast, faster than any official message. Traders whispered about watching shadows. Patrol crews reported strange scans that vanished when approached. Families on distant worlds felt a quiet fear they could not name. Humanity had been noticed, and being noticed in a vast and dangerous galaxy was rarely safe. Eli felt the pressure grow with every passing cycle. The Council allowed human ships to travel, but escorts followed them closely. Every jump was logged. Every message was reviewed. The council said it was for safety. Eli knew it was for control. Mara spent long hours reinforcing the ship. She improved shields, rerouted power, and taught younger crew members how to repair systems by hand if automation failed. "If something goes wrong," she said, "we cannot wait for permission to survive." Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed resolve. Tom noticed changes among the survivors who had chosen to stay aboard. They volunteered for training, helped with maintenance, and watched the stars with a quiet seriousness. Loss had hardened them, but it also bonded them. They had survived together, and that mattered. One cycle, an urgent call came from a human outpost near the fringe. The signal was short and broken. Power failures, communication loss, unknown interference. The council advised caution and delay. They wanted more data. Eli listened, then turned off the channel. "We go now," he said. Mara did not argue. Tom did not hesitate. The crew moved with practiced speed. They had learned that waiting could be deadly. As the ship entered the fringe, the familiar whispers returned. The same soft echoes followed them, bending and shifting around human voices. This time, the signals were stronger. They felt closer, more focused. The outpost came into view. Lights flickered. Defense systems were silent. No ships responded. Eli ordered a careful approach. "No sudden moves. We are guests in a place that may already be occupied." They docked without resistance. Inside, the station was cold and dim. Signs of struggle were everywhere, but not from weapons. Systems had been shut down cleanly, doors sealed. Life support reduced to minimum levels. Survivors were found in a central chamber, huddled together. They were weak, frightened, but alive. When they saw the human crew, relief washed over their faces. "They told us to be quiet," one survivor said, voice shaking. "Not with words, with pressure, with fear." Tom worked quickly, restoring oxygen and warmth.
"Who told you?"
"The shadows," the survivor replied. "They watched us. They learned us." Mara checked the station logs. No physical damage. This was a test. Eli felt anger rise, then forced it down. A test of what? Before anyone could answer, the station trembled. Outside, space bent and darkened. The Watchers appeared again, closer than ever. Not attacking, not hiding. Present. A projection formed within the chamber. Images flowed across the walls. This time, they were not just memories of humans. They showed human worlds, cities, families, laughter, grief. The Watchers had studied everything. Then the images changed. Human worlds under threat. Routes collapsing. Supplies failing. People isolated. "They are warning us," Mara said, "or threatening us." Eli stepped forward, or asking a question. The pressure in the room increased. Fear pressed against every human mind. Some cried out. Others held each other. The Watchers waited. Eli spoke, his voice steady. "If you want to know what we will do, watch us now." He turned to the crew.
Help them. All of them.
Despite the pressure, humans moved. Tom supported the weakest. Mara coordinated repairs. Crew members shared water, oxygen, and warmth. Fear did not vanish, but it was shared, and sharing made it lighter. The pressure wavered. The Watchers adjusted. One of the survivors collapsed. Without hesitation, another took their place at a manual pump, even though it meant pain and exhaustion. Others followed. No one asked if it was fair. The Watchers pulsed again. This time, confusion rippled through the projection. They had expected panic, isolation, self-preservation. Instead, humans chose sacrifice. The pressure lifted slightly. "They are learning," Tom said softly. "But learning costs us." Eli nodded. "It always has." A new image appeared. Other species watching. Council ships. Silent observers. "They are showing us consequences," Mara said. "If others learn from us, the balance changes." Eli understood then. The Watchers feared spread, not attack. Love could not be contained. Once seen, it could be copied. The projection shifted again. This time it showed a single human child, alone, reaching out.
Eli felt his chest tighten. "You want to know why we do this," he said quietly.
That is why. No one should face the dark alone. The room fell silent. The watchers withdrew the pressure completely. A final pulse filled the chamber, gentle and slow. It carried acceptance mixed with warning. Humans were not to be destroyed, but they were dangerous in a way the universe had not prepared for. The watchers vanished. Systems across the station returned to normal. Lights brightened, air flowed freely. The survivors wept, laughed, and embraced. Mara sank into a chair, exhausted.
"They let us go." Eli looked out the viewport. For now. When the ship departed, council vessels arrived late, weapons ready for a fight that never came.
Reports were filed. Arguments erupted. Some council members demanded human isolation. Others, shaken by what their crews had felt during the pressure event, argued for cooperation. A few admitted something frightening. They had felt it too. Back aboard the ship, the crew rested in shifts. Eli could not sleep. He knew the line had moved again. Humanity was no longer just observed. It was influencing the galaxy. Mara joined him quietly. "They will try to stop this," she said. "Yes," Eli replied, "because they are afraid." Tom appeared at the doorway. "Fear spreads fast," he said, "but so does hope." The ship moved on, carrying humans who had faced the Watchers not with weapons, but with care. The universe had tested them again, and again they had answered the same way. Somewhere far away, other species would feel a strange pull. A curiosity, a warmth they could not explain. Humanity's smallest force was no longer hidden, and the galaxy was beginning to feel its weight. The human convoy moved through open space, tense and alert. Though the Council had not interfered directly, reports of unusual phenomena continued to reach every world. Traders whispered of shadows near jump lanes, patrol crews reported strange energy pulses, and even distant colonies felt a subtle pressure that made hearts pound and minds race. Humanity had become more than a species. It was now a force that could not be ignored. Captain Eli stood on the bridge, watching the stars stretch endlessly. Mara worked beside him, monitoring sensors for anomalies. Tom moved quietly through the ship, checking on survivors and crew alike. Each of them knew that something was coming, though no one could say what. The signals arrived suddenly, stronger than before. They pulsed in time with the crew's heartbeats, flickering across displays and shaking the ship with quiet intensity. Eli studied them closely. Unlike the previous encounters, these signals seemed interactive, almost responsive. Mara's eyes widened.
"They're reacting to us faster than before," she said. "Almost like they're learning." Eli nodded.
"Then we must show them more. We cannot hide who we are." As they moved deeper into the sector, the projections began. The stars themselves seemed to bend and shimmer, and images appeared around the ships. Humans saw echoes of their past rescues, of families carried to safety, of children holding hands in the dark. But the projections did not stop there. They showed possible futures, empty worlds, abandoned colonies, and silent systems. "Are they threatening us?" one young crew member asked, fear in her voice. Eli shook his head. "No, they are testing us, to see how far we will go for each other." Suddenly, one of the human rescue pods emitted a distress signal. It was real this time. Mara calculated the trajectory. The pod was caught in a weak gravity field, unstable and collapsing. "We must act now," Eli said. "All hands prepare to assist. No one is left behind." The crew responded instantly. Ship shifted, engines flaring, navigating the dangerous currents of space. Humans worked together, moving with precision and trust. Parents helped children stabilize pods. Engineers braced systems under strain. Medics tended the injured while others offered encouragement. Fear was present, but it did not paralyze them. The Watchers observed silently, their presence felt but unseen. Eli realized they were calculating every human choice, every act of care, every sacrifice. These beings had never encountered a species that gained power from compassion. The rescue pod finally stabilized. Mara exhaled, but Eli knew the challenge was not over. The Watcher's signals intensified. Projections now surrounded the entire convoy. Each human on board saw visions of worlds under threat, species suffering alone, and civilizations collapsing from isolation and fear. "This is a warning," Mara said. "If we do not act, everything may fall." Eli stepped forward.
Then we will act. Together. He turned to the crew.
Every person we save, every bond we strengthen, every act of care is our weapon. Use it. Show them what humanity is capable of. Humans move through the projections, helping one another, assisting pods, repairing systems, and tending to the weak. The Watchers shifted. Confusion rippled through their forms. They had expected panic, isolation, self-preservation. Instead, humans chose sacrifice, unity, and courage. Every act of care amplified their strength, their coordination, their resolve. One of the younger survivors, a boy no older than 10, noticed an injured alien trader caught in the projection's energy. He did not hesitate. With help, he reached the alien, guiding it to safety. The Watchers faltered, unable to understand why a small child would risk himself for a stranger. Mara smiled faintly at Eli. "They are learning slowly," Tom, checking over the pod survivors, said, "and every time we act together, we teach them more." The projections pulsed again, this time showing the reactions of other species who had observed humanity. Council ships hesitated. Patrol crews stopped, and alien observers felt something unfamiliar. Empathy. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it spread. Some species began to act cautiously, not because of threat but because of curiosity, because of care. Eli felt a quiet pride. Humanity had not fought with weapons, nor destroyed anything. They had survived and influenced the galaxy simply by choosing to care. Mara's voice broke his thoughts. "They're retreating." Eli looked out at the stars. The Watchers pulled back, slowly dissolving into the void. Their curiosity and confusion remained, but they no longer applied pressure. For the first time, humans had faced the unknown force and emerged not just alive, but stronger. The convoy moved on, each crew member exhausted but proud. Survivors hugged one another, whispered thanks, and laughed quietly. They had faced something unimaginable and held fast to humanity's smallest, greatest force. Eli, Mara, and Tom stood together, silent on the bridge. The galaxy had noticed them. Humanity had shown what it meant to act with love, care, and courage in the face of danger. It was a force no weapon could measure and no alien logic could fully understand. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Watchers recalculated, reconsidered, and perhaps even feared what they had learned. Humanity had survived, but more importantly, it had inspired. The smallest force had created ripples that reached across systems, influencing species far beyond Earth's home. The human convoy moved forward, stronger and more unified than ever. Every lighted corridor, every repaired system, every hand held in reassurance became a testament to what made them powerful. Not their size, not their technology, not even their numbers, but the connections that bound them. Eli's gaze remained fixed on the horizon of stars. Humanity would continue to face threats, challenges, and unknown forces. But they would face them together, guided by the force that no enemy could measure: love. The universe might resist, might fear, might misunderstand, yet the smallest, simplest force had become unstoppable, and the galaxy would remember it, whether it wanted to or not. The galaxy had changed. Humans moved through space no longer as unnoticed observers, but as a species whose presence carried weight far beyond their size or numbers. Captain Eli stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching stars pass in silence. Mara monitored sensors beside him, and Tom checked on the crew and survivors scattered throughout the ship. They had learned to move together, to act in unison, and to protect one another in ways no other species could understand. Reports arrived from distant colonies. Systems previously isolated were now experiencing strange phenomena. Echoes of human activity, signals that resembled emotional patterns, and subtle energy shifts that could not be explained by conventional science. The Council observed in confusion and fear. Some wanted to contain humanity. Others were beginning to respect it. Eli gathered his crew on the bridge. "We have survived every challenge so far," he said. "We have been measured, tested, and observed. The galaxy knows who we are now, and we cannot let fear guide our actions. We move forward, together, as always." Mara nodded. "We will face whatever comes next. We have already seen how far love can carry us." Suddenly the sensors picked up a vast formation moving through space. Not a fleet, but a complex structure of energy and shadow. The Watchers had returned, but this time they were not alone. Signals from other species indicated curiosity, hesitancy, and even aid. Humanity was no longer alone in being observed. Other races had begun to watch and learn from them too. The formation approached slowly, scanning, projecting images into the surrounding void. Memories of every human rescue, every act of courage, every gesture of care filled the projection. It was overwhelming, but humans moved with purpose. Each crew member acted decisively. Pilots guided ships with precision, engineers reinforced failing systems, medics tended the weak, and survivors helped each other without hesitation. Eli realized the Watchers were measuring something they could not define, the strength that came from connection. Every act of care amplified human effectiveness. Every sacrifice made them more resilient. The galaxy's largest and most powerful forces could not predict this, and the Watchers' calculations faltered. Mara worked at a console, her voice steady. "Captain, they are recording everything. Every movement, every choice, every bond."
They are learning what makes us strong, Eli nodded.
"Then let them learn. They will not destroy us, and they will not break us. We show them who we are." The formation pulsed, and the projections shifted to show possible futures. Worlds without humans, civilizations failing, species losing hope. It was a warning, but humans did not retreat. They worked harder, reaching for the vulnerable, repairing systems and reinforcing one another. Fear was present, but shared courage made it lighter. Empathy had become their shield. A young survivor, barely more than a child, guided a small group of aliens trapped in an energy field. No one questioned why. They acted because it was right. Another crew member sacrificed personal comfort to stabilize a failing pod. Acts of selflessness multiplied, echoing through the formation, destabilizing the Watchers' projections. Tom whispered to Eli, "They do not understand. They cannot understand, but they can observe." And observation spreads influence. The Watchers pulsed again, this time showing reactions of other species. Confusion turned to hesitation. Curiosity replaced aggression. Empathy spread quietly, almost imperceptibly, as beings who had never known connection began to sense it. The galaxy was feeling humanity's force, and it could not turn away. Eli spoke, his voice firm. "We move forward. We act with love, care, and courage. That is our power. That is our strength." The Watchers recoiled, slowly withdrawing. Their presence remained, but they no longer pressed. They had seen what humans were capable of, and recognized a force they could not challenge. A force born of connection, resilience, and love. The convoy moved on. Systems across human space buzzed with energy and curiosity. Other species began to approach cautiously, offering assistance, sharing resources, and observing quietly. Humanity's influence spread not through conquest, but through example. Every lighted corridor, every repaired pod, every hand held in reassurance became a testament to what made humans powerful. Eli looked out at the horizon of stars. The universe had tested them repeatedly, but they had survived. They had influenced observers far beyond their own understanding, showing that the smallest force, care, love, and connection, could alter the course of civilizations. Mara joined him quietly. "We have changed the galaxy, Captain." "Yes," Eli replied. And we will continue to do so, not with fear or power, but with what we have always had, the courage to protect, the willingness to sacrifice, and the strength of our bonds. Tom appeared beside them. We are no longer unnoticed. The galaxy has felt our force, and it will remember it. The ship moved forward into the endless void. The stars stretched infinitely, yet humanity no longer felt small. Every act of care, every choice made in the service of others, had become a ripple that reached far beyond their own systems. Humanity's smallest force, its greatest emotion, had shaped the galaxy in ways that could not be measured. Eli, Mara, and Tom watched in silence, knowing that the journey ahead would bring new challenges, new threats, and new observers. But humanity would continue, because the galaxy could not take away what humans had always carried, the smallest force that had become unstoppable, the greatest emotion that had become a law of survival. Somewhere far away, the Watchers recalculated, hesitant to act, unsure of what to do. Other species considered the same. Humans had proven that love was not weakness. It was a force greater than size, power, or numbers. And in the quiet of space, the universe understood, for the first time, that the smallest force could shape the stars.